bevo.com.
So he was responsible for turning the Millennium Dome from the White Elephant it was into the O2 Arena, one of the world's greatest music and entertainment icons. He obviously won the iPhone contract from beating other competitors and taking that and getting that with Apple. Since then, he has taken the helm of Telefonica Europe. He's made sure that company is the leading telecommunications company in Europe, as well as obviously making sure that O2 maintains its position as number one in the UK mobile operating market. Matthew Key, Chairman and Chief Executive of Telefonica Europe, welcome to Bevo.
Hi Anthony, thank you very much.
Perhaps we can start with the Dome, or as we call it now, the O2.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, that was a very bold move. It hadn't really worked for anybody before you. But you went into the board 3 times. I understand that they discouraged you from doing it pretty heavily 3 times, but you still went ahead anyway. So strategically, why was it so important to you, and how did you know it was going to work?
So if I tell you a bit of the story about how we came about sponsoring the Dome to call it the O2, AEG contacted us. They're the company that had actually bought it from the government and were going to run it. And we got involved with them and really looked at their plans for the venue. Now, the plans for the venue we thought were pretty exciting. We thought it was a chance to really be the rebirth of the venue, of the Dome. But clearly it was a bit of a risk because 2 or 3 people had an attempt at turning the Dome into a successful venue and clearly failed. So actually we did some research into AEG. We looked at some of their venues in the US. We talked to their partners in the US. And we started to get quite excited about them as a partner and what they could actually do with the Dome. But then the question for us was, what would we do within our business model once it became the O2? How would we make it a real success for us? And we really used our experience that we'd had both with Arsenal, because we'd sponsored Arsenal, and with the England rugby team. And what we always do with any sponsorship is we don't just badge something. Actually, what we do is we bring customer experience, customer benefits. So the key thing for us on the O2 was, were AEG going to give a great customer experience and deliver the customer experience we would want to, because people going would assume it was us delivering the customer experience, but also what could we bring to our customers? And the key insight we had there was priority tickets. That's the real value for us. So if whoever is playing at the O2, whether it's Madness or whether it's Whitney Houston or whether it's Beyonce, what happens is our customers can buy tickets 48 hours before the general public. That was part of the agreement we made with AEG, and we've now implemented that. We're actually on TV now, funnily enough, advertising it, because we've proved through customer research and customer insight that any customer that's aware of that benefit is 15% less likely to leave us. So we get great media benefit from it being called the O2 and great events and great customer experience, but we also bring benefits directly to our customers as a result of that sponsorship.
Did you come up with that vision for the O2? Was it introduced to you, or, for example, how would you actually come up with that? Because it's a brilliant plan and it's obviously worked.
Yeah. Have a brilliant team around you is the first thing to say. I mean, my marketing director, who's a brilliant lady, really pushed it through our UK board, because we were coming to the end of our Arsenal sponsorship, and I remember we were in Leeds, cold winter day, and she said, got an idea, I think we should do a deal and sponsor the Dome. And of course, tumbleweed rolling across the boardroom at that point. Why the hell would we want to do that? And she started actually to get us excited about it. We met the guys from AEG. Funnily enough, I actually went to an Arsenal-Chelsea game with them, and I'm a big Chelsea supporter. And you get to know somebody when you're in a different environment, what they're like as a human being, as well as a businessman. We then did a couple of visits. One of the key things for me was I did the journey from my house. So I went from Beaconsfield to the O2 in North Greenwich. Would I be prepared to do that journey to go and see Spandau Ballet? Absolutely, I would. Yeah. Then what we did was spoke to people that knew the business, because we don't know we're not an entertainment or an events business. So actually, I spoke to a couple of people that I knew in the music business, asked them about the venue, what they thought, would bands play it, how the economics would play, and from that we started down the road with AEG.
Fantastic. And so when that person was because you're the chief executive, so you really, Matthew Key's got a brand, O2's got a brand, that could have been put at risk with one decision with the O2. So how did you intuitively straight away get it, or?
It took a while, but once I intuitively got it, I got it.
Then you got it, right.
And you're right, we were still quite a young brand at this stage, you know, O2, and there was a danger to O2 that we'd be associated with the next people to fail at the White Elephant,
right.
which was a risk for us. But you have to look at anything, any sort of deal like that, with upside and downside. What was the potential upside and what was the potential downside? Mm-hmm. Now, the cost of the contract was a lot of money, but the amount it was going to cost us compared to the value of the brand, it wasn't the cost of the contract that I was worried about. It was actually the potential risk to the brand. Right. But instinctively, I thought there was something in it. And once I really got to understand what we could try and do with it, I got more and more excited. And actually, as you say, I then went to the board, to the O2 PLC board, as it was then. And you're right, I vividly remember sitting in a board meeting presenting this, and somebody from the board said, "So do you want an answer?" And I said, "Yes, please." And they said, "Well, the answer's no." And I said, "Well, I'm not accepting no. I'm coming back until you say yes." That was quite a risky move for me.
Yeah.
At the time, I was relatively new in as CEO, but I'm glad I pushed for it, because you know we now look back, and what a fantastic venue it's become. As you said, the most visited entertainment venue in the world. Great brand halo for us as O2, but also more importantly, as explained, tangible benefits to our customers, which is what we're all about.
So for lessons for other executives that are watching this, or even chief executives that wanted to go to the board with something equally risky per se, albeit obviously weighed up, what would be the lessons there? Is it conviction or?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about when we were branding it or doing the sponsorship was very difficult to prove mathematically whether it was going to be a good business case or not. I mean, yeah. I'm a chartered accountant by training.
Yeah, you're the CFO for O2.
I was the CFO, right. Yeah. And so could I do a spreadsheet that said, here's the amount of money we're going to make? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you have to look at your overall business model and what you're trying to do. And we had a very clear strategy at O2 that we were trying to be more than just a company that people made calls on the network and made texts on the network. We were trying to create a relationship with our customers that went beyond the basic product. If you believe in your strategy, you have to really understand how you're going to deliver your strategy. And this, for me, was a potential key element in our strategy. I wasn't financially betting the house on it. The brand, yes, there was a risk on the brand, but actually we felt, and it was we as in a board, felt that the potential upside more than outweighed the potential downside. Once you've reached that point, trust your instinct, because it's a lot of business decisions around instinct. You can show me a spreadsheet that will prove something or prove something else. Instinctively, do I think it's right? And you only get some of that with experience, and some of it, I think, is a bit about your personality. Fine line between self-confidence and arrogance. If you're arrogant, you've gone too far and you won't see the downside or hear other people's opinions. If you're self-confident, actually you have to back your judgment. And I think a self-confident CEO and a very clear leader as a CEO will point a business in a direction and the business will get behind that leader.
Yeah. So conviction is certainly what you had, because you went back 3 times, and as a relatively new CEO to the board, that takes a lot of conviction. After you've got that intuitive light bulb go off inside you, then you go for it.
Absolutely.
You stick with it.
Absolutely.
But you also mentioned sort of congruency with customer experience and brand values. So to what extent does the O2 actually represent, some ways, the brand values of both you, potentially Matthew Key as the chief executive, and also of the O2 brand?
Well, our brand values are bold, open, trusted and clear. That's how we try and live our life in O2. That's what the business is about, that's what the employee experience should be about, and that's what the customer experience should be about. Now, clearly, branding the O2 was quite a bold move, very bold. As far as the openness is concerned, For us and our customers, what we really try and do is be very clear about the customer experience they're going to get at any point they touch O2, whether that's voice or text, or whether it's on the O2. So on the priority ticketing, we're very clear, you get 48 hours before the public to buy these tickets. But once our priority allocation has been sold, then it's been sold. So you have to be open with people as far as the experience you're actually going to give them.
Do you actually measure the sort of how well you're incorporating and living the values that you just mentioned internally within your organisation? I mean, do you have a sort of a scorecard or a measurement system to make sure you're actually living it?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most important things about us running our business is how we engage with our employees. So in the UK, I do not deliver the customer experience, right? I could have the best strategy in the world, the best implementation in the world, but it's the guys that are in the shops every day and it's the guys that are in the call centres every day that actually are talking to customers. Yeah. So unless I get the people on the front line understanding what we're trying to do and understanding the products, we won't deliver the best customer experience.
Right.
So, and that interestingly also goes, if I go back to the O2, for our partners. So it's really important that the staff at AEG who run the O2 understand what we're trying to do for our customers and deliver that customer experience. And I think they've absolutely got it at the O2. So a huge amount of our time goes into communicating with our employees. What's our strategy? How are we going to deliver the strategy? And what do we want you to do as part of delivering that strategy to the customer? And if we can do that, actually we've got a chance of delivering a great customer experience. Do we get it right every time? No, we don't. Unavoidably, we don't. We have so many customer interactions that sometimes we'll get it wrong. But when we get it wrong, recognise you get it wrong, put the learning into practice in the business, but also say to the customer, we got it wrong. We did get it wrong. We'll actually make it up to you some way.
You've had an organisational success with the O2, so, but then you've had the confidence again to roll out that success internationally. So you've taken it obviously to the O2 in Dublin, the O2 World in Berlin, and the O2 Arena in Prague. So you're not afraid of rolling out the successes. So what piece of advice would you give to other chief execs that are wanting to roll out successes internationally?
So the first thing I would say is, if you're going to roll out something to other countries or a concept to other venues, make sure you know it's a success where you've started. Because there's no point rolling something out to other countries if it's not going to work. The second thing is, don't impose it on the in-country management. The in-country management have to vote with their feet and want to do it. So if I turned up in Dublin and said to our Irish CEO, I want you to go and find an O2 because it will be the best thing for you, it will be Matthew Key's idea. It got to be O2 in Ireland's idea to do something like the O2 that we've done in London, in Dublin. And we have, and we've opened it, and we've proved that the customer experience and the customer benefits we delivered in London, we're delivering in Dublin. And our Irish customers are now 15% less likely to leave us, just like the O2 UK customers were. So make sure the in-country CEO or business absolutely wants to do it. The third thing I would say is, not everything will work in every country, and particularly if you're working through a partnership model. So it just happens that we're partners with AEG who run the O2 in London, in Berlin, but we're not partners with AEG in Dublin or Prague because different companies happen to own the best venues in those two countries. So pick your partners very carefully and make sure you've got the right partner with the right capability.
Talking about partnerships, if we can, Matthew, you obviously have partnered with AEG in the countries you just mentioned because you didn't want to turn O2 into a concept promoter, and I can understand why. You're in the mobile, you're in the telephony business. But you've also successfully partnered with Tesco for your MVNO, or Mobile Virtual Network Operator. So you've obviously got a great strategy on partnerships. What's key to getting strategic partnerships right?
So the first thing is, number one, know your own strategy as a company. What are you trying to deliver as your strategy, and what customer experience are you trying to deliver? Within that customer experience, where are you best positioned to deliver it, and where do you need a partner? So if we talk about Tesco, when we did the Tesco Mobile deal, actually, which was about 6 years ago now, very clearly there was a segment of the UK population and a channel to market that we weren't going to be able to deliver as O2, that we felt Tesco's absolutely could deliver with us. So the combination of O2 and Tesco's we think is very powerful in Tesco Mobile. That's the first thing. Know your partner's capabilities. Secondly, make sure that you've got real executive buy-in with your partner, because you have to deliver it through their organisation and yours. So before we signed the deal, and funnily enough, only 3 weeks ago, we had our annual day where Terry Leahy, Andy Higginson from Tesco's, myself and Ronan Dunn, who's our UK CEO, get together. We have a look back at the last 6 months, we have a look back at the next 6 months, and we reset the strategy and make sure both partners are still happy with the arrangement. The third element I would say is make sure it's a win-win. Never enter a partnership where one partner is winning and the other one is losing. Because you might think you've got a good commercial deal to start with, but 18 months down the line, the partner you've struck the deal with who might be losing is going to lose interest. And if you're trying to create that sort of strategic partnership, it has to be a long-term partnership. So make sure it's win-win. The fourth is, I think, ethics of the business, or the values of the business and the partner you're doing the deal with. Make sure you're aligned with what you want to do. So whether it's AEG, whether it's Tesco, whether it's Apple, whether it's Palm, whether it's Carphone Warehouse, fundamental to all of those businesses and ours is deliver the right customer experience. And if you deliver the right customer experience together, the whole can be greater than the sum of the parts.
So how do you actually identify the right partner in the first place? Is it based on the customer experience that you think that partner can deliver and make sure it's in values, it's in congruency with your own values? Or?
So you have to identify what capabilities you need to make the picture whole starting from your strategy.
Yeah.
But then once you've identified that, make sure that you look at the potential partners and actually look at the customer experience they're delivering, or how they run their business, or what the personalities of the leaders are. So all of the leaders of the companies that I've mentioned there, I know very personally and have a personal relationship with them, because you have to be able to pick up the phone and say, this isn't working, we need to do something else, or this is really working, let's really get behind it. And unless you've got that personal relationship, it doesn't work.
It was just before we started the interview, we were talking off camera just about the fact that with the iPhone contract, you went over, you met Steve Jobs, you invested in the relationship. Is that just on your personal level? Is that one of the reasons why you've been so successful? Because you invest in relationships?
I think why have I been successful, or why have O2 been successful? I think from my perspective, a little bit right place, right time. A little bit about self-confidence and an intuitive gut feel of what's the right commercial deal and what's not the right commercial deal. But I do think personal relationships are very important, and that's from a personal relationship to members in our call centres or in our stores, or actually with the CEOs of our partner businesses. Yeah. So I'm very careful that actually I will still, when I get a good customer letter, I will ring somebody up in the call centre or ring somebody up in the store who's given that service. Because I think that personal relationship I can create with that individual is not just a personal relationship between me and that individual. Actually, that individual will tell that story many, many times around the business. And that will create the sense that Matthew has a personal relationship with our frontline customer service guys or our frontline store guys.
Matthew, you talk a lot about sort of customer experience, and I have actually moved to O2 from a competitor I won't mention, but I, like my friends and colleagues, have had a phenomenal experience with your frontline staff. And as you've mentioned many times, it's the interface with the customer, it's the front line that you've empowered. So you really do put the customer first. But can you give us an example of some other examples of how you've been able to build a customer-centric organisation?
For us to deliver a customer experience, we deliver it through the 10,000 people we've got in the UK or the 5,000 people we've got in Ireland. What you have to do is engage with your employees to do that. Yeah. If you engage with your employees to deliver that, they will hopefully deliver the right customer experience. But make sure you engage with them, but also make sure they feel part of the solution. So a couple of things that we did when I was running the UK, we had something called Thanks a Million. So at the start of 1 year, actually what we set out was every employee would get a bonus of £1,000 at the end of the year if we grew by 1 million customers in that year.
Right.
Irrespective of your rank, length of service, if you were there for that year, you got £1,000. Now, to a call centre agent who's earning £13,000, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it was really important that I had £1,000. The call centre agent who was earning £13,000 also got £1,000 at the end of the year if we delivered.
Mm.
And really important that everyone could see their part in that process, that they understood by picking up the phone and upgrading a customer so he didn't leave O2 meant we kept one more customer, we were on the way to growing by 1 million. So we set that up, and we had actually a 2-year programme. We set it up 1 year to grow by 1 million customers, and we did, and everyone got £1,000, fantastic. Yep. And the following year we set it up that if we ended the year at #1 for customer satisfaction, everyone would get £1,000. Fantastic. We did it again, everyone got £1,000. It gets employees understanding their role and have real skin in the game as well. The other thing we did actually, which I think is really important for a big and complex business, is you have to reduce the time that it takes for information to flow from the front line to the decision makers. So the guys in the stores and the call centres would know. So we launched the Palm Pre, which is our latest smartphone device exclusive in the UK and Germany and Ireland, last Tuesday.
Okay.
On Wednesday, we had reports back from the retail guys on what customers were saying about the Palm Pre, what they liked, what they didn't like, and how we should tweak the offer. If you can get that very fast flow through of information from the front line to the guys who make the decisions, you will end up with a better business, because you will either be further exploiting an opportunity or you will be solving a problem that you probably didn't know was there. Because if I waited for that to come through on a management report, it would probably be another month and a half. And you know what? By that time, customers have made their mind up about the Palm Pre, whether they like it or not. Now, the good news is they do like it. Customers would have made their mind up and voted with their feet.
Talking about customer insights, how do you make sure that you're really getting insights from your customers? I mean, are customers more, you present them something and they say, I like it or I don't like it, or can you actually use them for some blue sky thinking and really innovating and making some step changes in the customer experience?
So the most important thing that we do is we engage with our customers at different stages of product development. But what we really look for is customer insight. Because sometimes a customer will say something to you, but you have to understand the reason they're saying it to you. So we've been through a process over the last 18 months where clearly the economy has been in recession. Now what's been clear, or what was clear to us, is that we had a process as a mobile phone industry of tying everybody up in 18 and 24-month contracts. Yeah. Not everybody wanted to be tied to an 18 or 24-month contract. So we launched in the UK and in Germany and in Ireland, again we rolled it out across all of our operations, a rolling 1-month contract. So what does that do for customers in the current environment? It recognises their situation, because a lot of customers don't know whether they're going to have a job in 12 or 18 months' time. And if you can do that and understand what they're... So customers were saying to us, actually, I'm not sure I want to upgrade at this moment. I'll just stay on my existing contract. What were they really saying to us? Actually, I'm not sure whether I'm going to still be able to pay the bill in 18 months or 24 months. Off the back of that comment, actually what we did was developed a 1-month rolling contract that hit the customer insight, which was, as a customer, what I want is flexibility. Give me flexibility, and actually, I'll stay with you if it's appropriate. The great news is that we launched the 1-month rolling contract. Actually, customers on the 1-month rolling contract, their churn, i.e. their propensity to leave us, is lower than people on an 18-month contract. Why? Because actually we've hit the customer insight of give me flexibility and give me control over my life and my spending. That is what customer insight is about.
That takes almost as much courage, I'd have thought, as making a decision about the O2. Because, as I understand, in the telecoms industry, everybody is afraid of churn. And then you are, Matthew Keith, saying, well, let's give them the freedom to walk if they want to on a monthly basis. I mean, that's going to take some courage.
It was a big commercial decision for us to do that. But if you're truly about customer experience and customer insight, and you believe you give a good customer experience, then back it up with commercial policies. Don't hide behind the fact that the mobile phone industry has always operated under 18 and 24-month contracts, because that doesn't give customers real choice. Give customers real choice. The other thing we did, which really broke the rules of the industry, was traditionally, and I think it's the same in a lot of industries, new customers used to get a better deal than existing customers. So if a customer had been with us for 18 months, if he went back onto the high street, he could get a better deal as a new customer walking into an O2 store than he could as an existing customer ringing up the O2 call centre. So we changed the rules. We said, actually, we will treat existing customers as well, if not better, than new customers. Again, it changed the economics of the industry, and actually what we did as a result, and it was a bit of a leap of faith again, was we simply reduced churn again, because actually what we were doing to our existing customers was saying, stay with us, and actually we'll look after you. So you don't have to go back onto the high street to look for a new deal at the end of your contract.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think there's a belief out there that if you change operators, you're going to get a better deal because they're going to pay for you basically to go over there. What you're saying is we're going to offer you just as good a deal as if you were a new customer. So it's just about putting the values first and making sure it's backed commercially, and then having the courage to put it into place.
Know what you're about, and if you've got a strategy, implement the strategy. Don't hide behind, I've always done it this way, so I'm not going to implement my strategy.
Yeah, challenge the assumptions. Matthew, you talk about the virtuous circle. Just explain to me, what are the components of a virtuous circle?
So we set our business model up in what we call a virtuous circle. So there's four elements for us, which is shareholders, employees, customers and communities. And what we believe is all of those four elements can be self-reinforcing. So if we do the right thing by our employees, they'll do the right thing by our customers. If we do the right thing by our customers, we'll deliver what we need to our shareholders. And if we do the right thing for our shareholders, we'll play the right role in our communities. And our employees live in our communities, and so on and so on. So we believe it's an absolutely self-reinforcing circle.
Excellent. So can you give me an example of sort of the community side? How a tangible example of how you impact and work with the community?
So we have schemes in every country actually to work with the community depending on what we think are the local community needs.
Yeah.
The first thing we make sure is that it's actually part of our employee experience as well, going back to the virtuous circle. So we really like our employees to be involved in the community programmes that we do.
Right.
So in the UK, we've got a programme called It's Your Community. And it's not a highly branded thing that you'll see on the television, but actually it's local communities applying for grants of £1,000 to help them fix their scout hut or make a garden in amongst the terraced houses. So it's us putting back into the communities that we operate in and that our customers and our employees live in.
Yeah, and just explain how that then links back to customers, employees and shareholders, just so I'm absolutely clear to get the circle.
So from a community perspective, so that particular item, a lot of the community projects we do, our employees will be involved in it. Either it will be something, so my local village scout hall, for example, applied for £1,000.
Yeah.
That's in a community that I'm personally involved in.
Yeah.
Our customers, and by the way, it doesn't need to be just our customers that apply for the £1,000, can apply through o2.co.uk to get the £1,000 from us. So our customers and our communities also tying in. From a shareholder perspective, if we deliver the right customer experience as part of the community projects and the right employee experience, we'll clearly our OIBDA. We're not a charity. We don't just give the money away. We give them £1,000. Do we expect our customers then to think better of us, or people in the communities to think better of us? We hope so, and we hope they stay with us or come from another provider to be part of our customer community.
Got it. And then that adds to shareholder value because you've got the whole.
And then we can reinvest the money in the employee experience or the customer experience.
You've talked a lot about customer experience, and obviously it's important to you that you've empowered the front line of your organisation. But can you give me an example of where you may have actually got involved personally as the chief executive with the front line of your organisation?
So I get lots of letters from customers, both positive and negative. Whenever I get a positive letter from a customer, I really try and take that back to the employee that's delivered that experience, that customer experience. Right. So funnily enough, a couple of years ago, I got a customer letter who'd actually been into the Aylesbury store and said, I wanted to let you know, I went into your Aylesbury store on Saturday and I was served by James Smith, we'll call the employee, and actually he gave me a great customer experience and here's what happened. So I get that letter, and every now and then what I will do is pick up the phone and ring and to talk to that employee. Now it was a funny story on the Aylesbury store one, because I got the customer letter and I rang up and said, hi, I'd like to talk to James, please. And whoever picked up the phone said, can you tell me who's speaking. And I said, well, it's Matthew Key. And they said, well, what do you want to talk to him about? Clearly not knowing who I was, which is cool, because we get people coming in terms of being employees in our store. And I said, I just wanted to talk to him about a customer experience that he delivered. And the person who was in said, I'm afraid he's out at lunch. Can he ring you back? I said, absolutely, he can ring me back. Here's my mobile phone number. So I left my number. The afternoon went by and he didn't ring me back. The following day, he doesn't ring me back. And I'm thinking, I wonder whether this message got through. On the Saturday, I was actually out, funnily enough, at a wedding, and my phone went, and it was an Aylesbury number. And I'm thinking, I don't know anybody in Aylesbury, beyond our guys who work in the Aylesbury store. And I said, hi, Matthew Key. And this voice on the end of the phone said to me, hi, Matthew, it's James. What have I done wrong? Well, what an insight into into human perception of the chief exec is ringing me, so I must have done something wrong.
Wow.
Well, actually, I said to him, James, really fantastic. I had a letter from customer X. You served him a couple of weeks ago. And he said to me, oh, I remember that guy. And he told me the story about the customer coming in. And I said, I'm just ringing you up just to say thank you very much for giving a great customer experience. Now, that, if I'm James in the Aylesbury store, makes me feel really good for the day.
Yeah.
But do you know what else it does? He will tell that story to all of his friends in the local stores, and I know that story went round the business because I had someone else play it back to me subsequently that said, you phoned somebody in the Aylesbury store, didn't you? So it took 30 seconds of my time, but actually I've made someone's day. I've said thank you to somebody for delivering a great customer experience, and the knock-on impact that gives across the organisation is huge. Mm-hmm. So as a leader, actually we have a saying in our business called shadow of a leader. People will see what you do and they'll see how you behave. And when I go into the call centres in a retail store, I know people will be looking at everything that I do. And if I happen to ring up and say thank you for a job well done to one of our employees, I really hope that as well as that employee feeling good and telling all his friends, all of the managers in the business will see that Matthew Key's done that and they will replicate it, they will copy that behaviour. And you know what, it's often in business, we talk to people when they've done something wrong to improve it. Isn't it great to say thank you for a job well done? Just as simple as that.
Yes, leading by example. I mean, we interviewed Ken Blanchard and he was saying, catch somebody doing something right and then tell them about it.
Absolutely.
It's the same principle.
Absolutely. Say thank you. Say thank you. Everybody, I've got a great belief in human nature that the vast majority of people at work, in whatever they're doing, are trying to do the best job they can. Yeah. And if they do the best job they can and do what you'd ask them to do, then say thank you. It's about creating human relationships with people.
I bet your six-man store in Aylesbury was your number one performing store in the UK for a long time after that.
Absolutely. And good luck. Great news. Great news. They gave a great customer experience. The customer was happy.
Absolutely. Matthew, you've been number one here in the UK for quite a long time now. But do you think that with the consolidation between, of Orange and T-Mobile, do you think that there's a chance that that may be under threat?
Well, from a pure size perspective, clearly when they get together, they will be bigger than us. I mean, it might take them 12 months, it might take them 2.5 years to get together, but they will be bigger than us once they get together. Yeah. From our perspective, if I go back a little bit in history, when we came out of BT in 2000, at the start of 2002, we were number 3 or number 4 in most measures in the UK market. Either Vodafone or Orange were number 1 or number 2. Over a period of 5 years, actually what we've done, and by 2007, we were number 1 in every measure, whether it was customer size, customer experience, revenue, OIBDA, we think employee experience, brand relevancy. But what we did was had a real challenger mentality. We came from a number 3, number 4 position, and we had a group of people that just worked fantastically well together that wanted to prove we could be number 1 and create something different. And I always said that while we were number 3, number 4, then number 2, actually we had that challenger mentality of we were quite entrepreneurial, moving quite fast, doing things quite radical. Yeah. The danger when you get to number 1 is you lose that challenger mentality. Yeah, I used to talk in our business and said, as soon as we think we've won, we've lost. Because if you think you've won in a fast-moving industry, somebody else will improve their game, be better than you, and if they give a better customer experience, they're going to be number 1 again.
But you're only number 1 because of the fact that you have integrated a challenger mentality throughout the organisation as you're going from 4, 3, 2, 1 and now at 1, maintaining that. Would you give any advice for other chief executives to actually make sure that they have that same challenger mentality? I mean, how do you tangibly as a chief executive make sure that you have that?
So I think an awful lot of it is around the people in the business. Have people that have the attitude and the mentality to always be striving for something better. Never be comfortable with where you are, always look to the next game. Whatever industry you're in, somebody else is going to come along and beat what you're doing today. The trick is, when they beat what you're doing today, you have to have moved on another step. So they're always chasing you. So get the right people and the right mentality in your organisation. And I think if I look throughout our organisation, whether it's in the UK or Germany and Ireland, we've got people who are always thinking of the next step and the next step. Yeah. But give also as a chief exec, make sure people have got the flexibility and the latitude to develop their ideas and implement it. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Create the environment where people want to try new stuff. So you may have seen we've just announced that in November we're launching a whole new proposition in mobile that we've called GiftGaff. Now, GiftGaff actually is a Scottish word which means giving and receiving. What we're going to do is set up a purely online mobile phone company that actually customers can get involved in as far as how the marketing works, how the proposition works, member gets member, and we've based it all around Web 2.0 principles of mutuality. Where did that idea come from? That idea came from one of our guys who was actually looking after our brand at the time, who sat and was in an internal management conference and had a spark of an idea. The next week, he was actually, funnily enough, at a conference in San Francisco, the heart of Silicon Valley, and he then developed over the next 6 months this idea of creating this whole online community that was a different mobile phone proposition. He came to see me when he was 6 or 9 months into the idea. I thought it was a fantastic idea, and we've let him run with it. And it's now got to the point, that was 12 months ago, it's now got to the point where we launch next month into the marketplace. That's off the back of somebody who was actually 3 levels down from me in the organisation, who had an idea but knew it was the right sort of organisation that actually he could put that idea into practice, and we would give him the latitude and we would give him the resources to make it reality if we believed in it.
That's phenomenal, because a lot of people come up with ideas and they think, they speak to their immediate manager, the immediate manager says rubbish, just gets killed before it gets to the chief executive. So
it's a little bit about personality of the people. You have to recruit, you have to have the right people in the business, people that aren't going to take no, back to the O2, back to people who aren't going to take no for an answer. If they really believe in something, they're going to drive for it. Now, you have to be careful, because you can't have mayhem and the organisation working on 3,000 ideas, because it would just grind to a halt. So you have to have some sort of funnel where you allocate resources to make sure actually you're working on the right things.
Got it. Brilliant. The iPhone has been one of your levers for UK outperformance, but now I understand that the iPhone is now no longer exclusive just to O2. It's been opened up. So how will you make sure that you maintain the level of customers in sort of a post-iPhone exclusive O2 arrangement?
So the first thing is, I would say about the iPhone, that it's been a brilliant success for us and a brilliant success for Apple as well. Apple produced what was a groundbreaking product, no question. And I think the iPhone, in mobile phone terms, has moved the whole industry to another game. It's moved the mobile phone industry to a game where people are actively interacting with their phone to go on the internet, to look up the football scores, their applications, whatever it happens to be. It's not just a voice and text device. And as an industry, we tried many times to make these devices and the customer interaction more than just voice and text, and we'd failed in truth. We hadn't delivered a good enough customer experience. Apple have come along, produced a device. We've given a great customer experience most of the time in the UK, not all the time, but most of the time. And so we've put, I think, the mobile phone industry into a different position with their relationships with their customers.
Right, okay.
So it's been a groundbreaking device for the industry is the first thing. The second thing is it has been a key part of our success over the last 18 months. But recognise that we'd started that success long before the iPhone came along. As I said to you, in 2002 we were number 3 or number 4.
Yeah.
We were number 1 in most measures by the time we got the iPhone.
Yeah.
So the iPhone has been important to us, but not the only reason we've been a success over the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important learning. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket, because yes, we knew exclusivity was coming to an end, but actually if we were just relying on the iPhone for our success, now it's gone multi-operator, actually we'd have a very weak business model. We're keeping it, we're still selling it, but other people can offer the same product now. So you have to have many products that actually you're taking to customers that they like. So one of the biggest successes we've had is we've driven churn down. So we've driven churn down by 10 percentage points over the last 2 years. The iPhone's had not much of an impact on that, in truth, because it's largely been about getting new customers and upgrading our existing customers. Why have we driven churn down? Because we've delivered a good customer experience. So that's about our broad church of products. So whether that's about the O2, priority ticketing, whether it's about our relationship with Carphone Warehouse, that we've got different commercials that make sure Carphone Warehouse look after our customers as well as we do, whether it's about the guy in the Aylesbury store giving a great customer experience, whether it's about the lady in our Preston Brook call centre giving a great customer experience. All these elements feed into an overall recipe that actually delivers an overall business model. So iPhone important, yes. The dominant factor in our success, no. We were on a roll before the iPhone came along, and arguably one of the reasons that Apple actually chose us as an organisation is that we were already on that roll, and they could see actually we were delivering the same sort of customer experience that they wanted to deliver.
Yeah. So, products and technologies can come and go, but the sustainable competitive advantage, as you said, the focus on customer experience, the virtuous cycle and everything else you've been talking about in this interview.
Yeah.
But the organisation actually won that contract, so you won that contract. So it's an organisational competency that, if there was another opportunity to come around, you've probably got the right brand again to get the next opportunity, whatever that may be.
Yeah, well, I would say 2 or 3 things on that. The first is the next opportunity did come around, and yes, we won it. It's called the Palm Pre. And we launched the Palm Pre last week. We think it's a fantastic device again. We've got an exclusive arrangement with Palm in the UK, Germany and Ireland. And we're really hopeful that that's going to be another device that brings great experiences to our customers and other people's customers if they want to come and experience the Palm Pre. That would be great.
Yeah.
As far as winning the iPhone is concerned, I think 2 elements there. The first was that actually how we'd operated our business over the previous 4 years, Apple had seen and obviously liked what we were doing as far as how we were operating our business, and wanted to partner with somebody that had the same sort of business ethics and approach and values that they do. So yes, the whole organisation had won that. Yeah. But as far as actually winning the individual contract, we did it in a very, very short period of time, and there was 3 of us from the business working on it. And one of the best bits of short-term work I've ever seen done was Apple came across to the UK. Steve didn't come across, but Tim Cook did with Eddie Q, who are the 2 people actually who were running Apple with Steve Jobs at the time. They came across to the UK and they visited us in Slough, in our offices in Slough. And we saw them, and they still didn't know what they were going to do with the contract in the UK at that point. And they left the meeting and said, look, what we'd like to do, we're going to now stay in the UK for a couple of days and we'd like to meet again. So I said, right, what we'll do is we'll meet you in the O2 tomorrow lunchtime, and we'll take you through some of our capability. And we set our marketing and our commercial guys a task that overnight they had to deliver a commercial proposition to Apple that would make Apple come with us as O2 as the operator in the UK. And they produced the best bit of work, commercial work, I think I've ever seen over a 12-hour period. And that following day, we were in the O2 with Apple. We presented to them the board, the mood boards about what the stores would look like, how we would market it, our TV propositions, the tariff. And you could see the Apple guys absolutely saw that we got this device, we understood what they were trying to do, and we would put an O2 spin on it. So the commercial guys did a fantastic job, just a fantastic job, but also recognised we were talking to them in the O2. Why did we do that? And again, back to employee ideas. Somebody, it was actually, fun enough, it was the guy who was the accountant working on the team who said, we should take them to the O2. Why? Because actually it showed Apple the sort of partnerships we create and how we think big and bold. And they loved the O2, and we got them to meet the guys from AEG in terms of the partnership that we created with them. So it became self-reinforcing that, you know, you got the employee idea of take them to the O2. You had the commercial guys producing the best bit of commercial work over 12 hours I think I've ever seen. And then you had me and actually our sales director and our devices director at the time actually driving through the deal in a very short space of time. So employee-driven ideas, real commercial insight, but then actually backing of the organisation to deliver the right commercial deal. We were part of Telefonica by this time. And the first time we met Apple, I actually went to California with Cesar Alierta and Julio Linares, who are the chairman and chief exec of Telefonica. We met the guys from Apple. We walked out of the room and I said to Cesar, that is a product I've got to have. That's going to be a fantastic product. And he turned around and he said to me, go and do the deal. Don't come back to me and tell me what the deal is halfway through. He trusted me as a leader of his organisation to do the right commercial deal. And we did the right commercial deal because I had complete flexibility in terms of what I could do, and I had the backing of the organisation. So if you're a chief exec and you've got people doing the jobs, trust them to do the job. Because you know what, if you don't trust them, they're not the right person to do the job.
So there wasn't an overnight success, it was the fact that you had done the great deal, the great partnership with AEG, the fact that you had that commercial team that was obviously incredibly capable, ready to do that 12-hour shift and deliver the goods on time. So it's the preparation and the partnerships and everything else and the ethos of your company that enabled you to get that deal.
And having the flexibility for me and the two guys I was working with to strike a commercial deal. Because you know, if I'm talking to Tim Cook, who's the COO at Apple, and he puts something on the table and I say to him, sorry, I've got to go and ask Madrid whether I can do that or not. Is that an organisation I want to do business with? If I'm Tim Cook, probably not. But if I've got Matthew saying, actually, I like the idea, Tim, but how about this? Then if I'm building on his ideas, then actually perhaps you end up with a better commercial relationship.
What one piece of advice, Matthew, would you give to somebody that wants to be incredibly successful in whatever field they pursue, whether it's business, chief executive, etc., etc.?
I think the difficult to sum it. One bit of advice is almost impossible.
Give me 10.
Yeah, I'll try and give you 3. How about that? The first thing is be yourself. Because if you're authentic and you're being yourself, actually people will see that and they'll recognise that. And they'll want to create a friendship with you or create a business relationship with you or create a partnership with you. So make sure that you are yourself. Because if you're trying to be someone else, actually that will become very apparent over the period of time. Be yourself. The second is create a team that you enjoy working with, whether if it's in a workplace or outside a workplace. Create team and friendships that you enjoy and that actually everyone gets something out of the relationship. So it just happened at O2 UK, we had a fantastic team running the business. We had tensions, but that for me was a sign of a great team, that you could have tensions in the boardroom, but as soon as we walked out of the boardroom, we were all absolutely aligned behind the decision. So have the discussion. I call it constructive tension. Constructive tension is very good. Destructive tension is not good. Constructive tension. Have the debate, decide what you're going to do, and make sure you walk out of that boardroom 100% aligned as a team. So build a team that actually you enjoy working with, that have got the same attitude and approach as you, and actually you'll find that work becomes actually more than work. It becomes part of your life from a positive angle. What I would also say to that, in whatever you're doing, make sure you've got a release. So we're really careful that actually work and home is balanced. That if you end up working all the hours and just becoming focused 100% on work, you'll lose perspective. You'll lose perspective. A great story on perspective, if I can give that to you.
Yeah, please.
Actually, while we were negotiating the iPhone deal, and it was a summer's evening, I was at home, and my phone went, and it was Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was ringing me up, it was a lovely summer's evening, and I went to sit on the step outside my home, actually talking to him about the product and what we were going to do with the product in the UK. And it was quite an involved conversation. I'm talking to this guy who's an absolute icon in the business world. And all of a sudden I heard from behind me, "On guard, on guard." And I'm thinking, what's all this about? And I turn round and my 14-year-old is running around the house with a biscuit tin on one arm and a plastic sword in the other, trying to kill a dragonfly. For me, that was perspective. I'm talking to Steve Jobs about the iPhone deal, and I've got my 14-year-old who's in a completely different world, but so important to keep perspective on life, as your job is not everything. It's part of your life, and you have to have that relationship with that 14-year-old. I can say, "Nathan, stop doing that. I'm trying to talk to someone." But actually recognise that he's got his own life, and he's in. The fact I'm trying to negotiate the iPhone deal to a 14-year-old at that point was nothing. I think the fourth bit for me on being successful, know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Once you know that, play to your strengths and get people around you that help you on your weaknesses. So my wife and I are a great partnership, but we're very different people. So she absolutely covers my weaknesses and I play to my strengths. And she plays to her strengths and I cover her weaknesses. And so that partnership arrangement, whether it's at work or at home, I think is really important. Whoever you are, don't think you can do everything, because you can't do everything. You'll be very good at some things, but not so good at others. And make sure you know that and you get the blend of that with the people around you, whether that's at work or at home.
Interesting. Fantastic. So really complementing each other, because a lot of people hire people look just like them, or indeed marry people that look just like them as well, not physically, but in terms of their personality traits and everything else. Whereas that's a mistake. You should be complementary team.
Well,
whatever
do you know what? I'm not a marriage counsellor or anything like that. But I think the parallels between work and outside work are very important. Know your strengths, play to your strengths, and actually recognise your weaknesses as well.
People have been talking, obviously, as you mentioned, we've been in a recession. Hopefully we're coming out of it, but people are talking about the W shape, right, or even the World Wide Web shape. As do you think we are coming out of this now? What's your thoughts on the next?
I absolutely think it varies country by country.
Right.
So if I look across the countries that we operate in, I can see that in the UK and Germany, the curve has stopped going down. The curve has flattened. Is it coming up? Not yet, but it's flattened.
Yeah.
Whereas if I look at Ireland and the Czech Republic, actually I can still see the curve going down. So I really think it varies country by country.
Yeah.
I can see some degree of consumer confidence returning, but certainly nowhere near where it was before the economic crisis. So can I see light at the end of the tunnel? Yes. Would I bet my house on it being in the next 6 months? No.
Okay. What do you think companies should be doing now in light of the fact that it may be not in the next 6 months, but it's coming up? We'll be back up again. So anything organisations should be doing to prepare for the upturn?
So I could almost go back to my virtuous circle.
Yeah.
And from a shareholder perspective, deliver to your promises. Deliver to your promises. Promise your shareholders what you're going to deliver and make sure you deliver. Because this is a great period about creating confidence of your shareholders. Secondly, make sure you continue to invest in your employee experience and give your employees as much certainty as you possibly can about the health of the company and about their job. Thirdly, customer. Continue to invest in the customer experience, because there's a great temptation, I think, in the current economic environment to reduce the amount of spend, particularly on CapEx that you're doing, actually, and you won't be delivering the right customer experience now or in 6 or 12 months' time. So make sure you continue to invest in the customer.
Yep.
And actually on customer, great opportunity to take more than your fair share of market share. Because if your competitors aren't investing at the moment, here's a time to go and get customers relatively cheaply as far as investment is concerned, and then hold on to them when the economic recovery comes. From a community perspective, recognise communities are going through a very tough time in the environments where you are, and make sure you continue to invest in the community. Don't withdraw from the communities.
Matthew, we've seen other UK mobile operators being bought by other multinational telecom companies. So, for example, Orange and France Telecom. and I think they probably struggled a little bit more than the O2 and Telefonica deal. So why do you think, I mean, O2 seems to have gone from strength to strength under Telefonica. So A, why do you think that success is there? And what are the sort of the benefits of being associated or being owned by a company like Telefonica?
Mm-hmm. It's funny because I was reflecting with Peter Erskine, who was my predecessor in the job the other day. We've now been part of Telefonica for almost 4 years, which was almost as long as O2 were independent post-BT, before Telefonica bought us. So 4 years under Telefonica, 4 years out of BT as O2. And both periods have been tremendously successful for us. I think the first thing is that when Telefonica bought us, they actually recognised our strengths and wanted to play to our strengths and didn't impose their operating model on us. So a classic example was actually the week they bought us, César Alierta, who's the chairman of Telefonica, actually flew to Slough to see us. We weren't summoned to Madrid to see him. He flew to Slough to see us, met the board, just by himself, no minders or anything like that, and created the right environment straight away that actually this is he would always talk about a partnership or a merger. Now, they bought us, but he would always talk about a partnership or a merger. And then the way that the whole process was implemented, it was clear that he'd recognised some special things in O2 and our DNA around the customer focus or the customer experience or our bold commercial approach, and he wanted to use that and embrace that within Telefonica. But the other thing he wanted to do was give some of Telefonica's great strengths to us, and it was a real. I think the first natural behaviour when someone buys you is to put the shutters up and say thank you very much. We're happy over here. You may have bought us, but we're over here. Actually, go and embrace that company because and both ways. Telefonica embraced O2 and O2 embraced Telefonica. So. Great product knowledge. We were just starting out on broadband. We had very little knowledge of broadband. Telefonica had run broadband in virtually every country in Latin America and in Spain. So great product knowledge that we got from them. Great scale. So Telefonica today has 260 million customers, 90 million of which are in Europe, 45 million of which are with me under the O2 banner. So we've just got another 215 million customers to help us from a scale perspective, whether that's product development or whether that's pure buying synergy. So really important there as well. And the third is the organisational model. Make sure the organisational model is fit for purpose, that actually you play to both organisations' strengths. So we were commercially very, very good, from a marketing perspective, very, very good. Were we always the best financially driven company as far as sort of eking out deals and buying to our maximum? Not necessarily. So what we've done is a lot of our purchasing on the bigger items is now done by Telefonica. The items that are not in country or market specific, it's done by Telefonica. We've had huge purchasing benefits out of that, huge product benefits from their product knowledge, but also recognise that if you're delivering a customer experience, give the in-country management complete flexibility to deliver that customer. Like I was talking on the O2, never impose customer experience on in-country management because the in-country management will know their customers better than you do. Telefonica recognise that, so what we do in Spain is different to what we do in the UK, which is different to what we do in Germany, which is different to what we do in Ireland, because actually we're in a very different market position and the customers are very different in each of those countries. So don't impose one size fits all. Really important as far as that flexible management model is concerned.
Right, but rather impose guidelines and principles and behaviours like the customer experience one that you've mentioned, etc., etc. Really play to strengths. And as you said, it's quite nice there was no ego associated with the fact that we're acquiring you. He's using the term merger, partnership, etc., etc., and the flexibility. Matthew, I just want to say thank you all the way from the iPhone through to your future, through to the virtuous circle, and there's been phenomenal insights. Thank you very much indeed for your time today. So wish you all the best and thank you.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bevo.com